In 2016, a Chicago trading firm called Jump Trading paid $14 million for 31 acres of farmland in Aurora, Illinois. It did not plant anything. The land sits directly across from the data center where the world's most important futures contracts trade, and its only crop is a set of communication dishes standing as close to that building as property law allows. The same year, Jump paid €5 million for a decommissioned 243-meter military tower in a Belgian field, one of the tallest structures in the country, useful for exactly one thing: line of sight. A blink of your eye takes about 300 milliseconds. The firms in today's story spend fortunes to win races decided in less than one. Today on Money Machines, the towers Wall Street built to fight the speed of light and who really pays for every millisecond. Here is why speed converts into cash. American markets live in two places. Stock exchanges match orders in New Jersey data centers. The futures contracts that track those same stocks trade near Chicago, about 700 miles away. The two prices are chained together, so when futures tick in Chicago, New Jersey prices are briefly stale, and whoever learns the news first can trade against everyone who has not heard yet. It is close to a risk-free trade, and it expires the instant the information finishes traveling, so the profit does not go to the smartest trader. It goes to the fastest wire. One firm built on this logic, Virtue, disclosed in its IPO filing that it had exactly one losing day in 1,238 trading days. When a business model is that reliable, the war moves to the racetrack itself. Around 2009, a company called Spread Networks spent a reported $300 million building a secret fiber optic cable from Chicago to New Jersey. The existing routes followed railroads and highways and wandered. Spread drew something close to a straight line, 825 miles, trenching through the Allegheny Mountains rather than around them, while the project's purpose stayed hidden. The prize, round-trip time, fell from about 14.5 milliseconds to almost 13. 3 milliseconds for $300 million, and traders lined up to pay, with reported fees in the millions per firm, because being on the slow line meant being the prey. It looked like an unbeatable moat. It lasted about 2 years, because the enemy was not a competitor with a better shovel, it was glass itself. Here is the twist that broke a $300 million cable. Light in a vacuum travels about 300,000 kilometers per second, the universe's hard speed limit. But light inside glass fiber slows to roughly 2/3 of that, about 200,000 kilometers per second, because it is constantly refracting through dense material. Microwave signals traveling through open air move at almost the full speed of light, so a chain of rooftop dishes and towers passing a signal line of sight across the countryside beats the most perfect fiber route ever built, not by clever engineering but by physics. By 2012, the fastest microwave networks had Chicago to New Jersey down near 8.1 milliseconds round trip, against a theoretical vacuum minimum around 7.9. The most expensive private cable in American history was suddenly the slow lane. It later sold to Zio for $127 million, cents on the construction dollar. What followed was a land rush measured in meters of altitude. Firms like McKay Brothers, Jump, Vigilant, and Newline Networks assembled chains of microwave towers along the Great Circle route between Chicago and New Jersey, fighting for the tallest masts and the straightest paths, because every extra hop and every degree of deviation costs nanoseconds. The same race crossed the Atlantic. Jump's Belgian military tower and a proposed mast over 300 meters tall on the English coast exist to link London and Frankfurt a few microseconds faster. Networks are now within about 1% of the physical limit of the universe on their core routes. A private industry, invisible to almost everyone, has pushed a signal path to the edge of what Einstein permits, so that one algorithm can see a price before another. Now watch the money machine wake up, because this is a Money Machines episode, and the deepest profits rarely go to the racers. The exchanges realized they were sitting on the one thing every speed trader must have: the finish line, so they productized distance. Exchanges sell collocation, the right to place your server inside the exchange's own data center for heavy recurring fees. And to keep the race fair enough to keep selling tickets, they hand every collocated customer an identical length of cable coiled under the floor, so the rack by the door and the rack by the matching engine hear the market at the same instant. The exchange manufactures equality at one distant scale and sells advantage at every other, through premium data feeds and cross-connects priced like nothing else in telecom. Add it up, and the quiet winner of the speed war is the venue. Major exchange groups collect billions of dollars a year from market data, connectivity, and collocation, revenue lines that grew for a simple reason: the customers cannot say no. A speed-dependent firm without the fastest feed is not a slower version of itself. It is roadkill. So exchanges could raise access prices year after year, and the checks kept clearing. The microwave networks became toll roads too, with bandwidth on the best routes leased for hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, rationed by the megabit. Notice the shape. The traders compete each other's margins away in the race, while the people selling position, proximity, and information rights keep theirs. In any gold rush, the picks and shovels win, and here the shovel is a rack unit and a cable coil. The fast lane has a weakness you can see out your window. Microwave links degrade in heavy rain and snow, a problem called rain fade, so on stormy days, the fastest networks in finance can drop out, and firms fail over to boring, reliable fiber. Capacity is the other constraint. A microwave path carries a sliver of what fiber carries, so only the most valuable bits fly through the air. Compressed order signals and prices, while everything else crawls through glass. And the race keeps mutating. Hollow core fiber guides light through a channel of air inside the cable, promising near air speed with fiber reliability. Laser links have connected exchange data centers. Shortwave radio experiments have bounced transatlantic price signals off the ionosphere. Every one of these is the same purchase, a slightly earlier copy of the truth. So who loses? Researchers, including a team working with the UK's financial regulator, measured these races using exchange message data and found they last about 79 millionths of a second, and that the winners' profits add up to an estimated $5 billion a year across global stock markets. They called it a latency arbitrage tax, paid through slightly wider spreads by everyone who trades slower than the winners, which means index funds, pension funds, and you. Individually, it is a fraction of a penny per share. Collectively, it is a standing transfer from the patient to the fast, plus the billions in towers, land, and data fees spent to decide which fast firm collects. Economists call this an arms race on purpose. When everyone buys speed, relative advantage cancels out, but the spending and the tax remain. Some people tried to opt out. The exchange IEX, made famous by the book Flash Boys, built its entire identity around one object: a spool of 38 miles of fiber coiled into a box, which every incoming order must traverse. The trip takes 350 microseconds each way, a delay chosen to be meaningless to a human and fatal to latency arbitrage, because it gives IEX's own systems time to refresh stale prices before the fast money can pick them off. Economists went further and proposed replacing continuous trading with rapid batch auctions, clearing the market many times a second so ties are broken by price instead of nanoseconds. The ideas work. Adoption is another story, because the venues that profit from selling speed would be the ones voting to abolish it, and the racer's spending is the exchange's revenue. One story shows how absolute the physics has become. In September 2013, the Federal Reserve announced it would not taper its bond buying. News released in Washington at exactly 2 p.m. Light itself needs about 7 milliseconds to reach Chicago from Washington. Yet Chicago futures markets exploded with buy orders within about 2 milliseconds of 2 p.m. Nothing legal about physics allows that, so the explanation had to be human. The news had been pre-positioned, carried early into Chicago data centers under embargo rules, and released on site at the stroke of 2. Regulators tightened the lockup procedures afterward, but the telling part is how the anomaly was caught. The speed of light is now a compliance benchmark. Markets move so close to the physical limit that breaking it is the evidence. Let's land this. The microwave towers are real, the engineering is genuinely beautiful, And the race did shrink spreads compared to the human era. But follow the money one last time, the speed itself earns less every year because an advantage everyone buys stops being an advantage. What endures is the machine that sells the racetrack, exchanges renting proximity, data feeds priced like ransom, tower networks leasing microseconds, all of it ultimately billed to ordinary investors a fraction of a cent at a time. Markets stopped being a place and became a physics problem, and whoever owns the geography of that problem owns a permanent income. This is education, not financial advice, so do your own research. Tomorrow is the current, where we follow this week's real money story while it is still moving. Subscribe so you don't miss it.